You're in the middle of something. Dinner. You're on the couch. You're on the drive home. And she says something that could go two different ways. You can feel it, and you make a decision in about half a second. You just let it go, and you say nothing, and you move on. And it works. The moment passes, there's no fight, there's no mess. You handled it by not handling it. Now that move has probably served you well for a long time. You're not a guy who blows things up. You pick your battles. You know when something is not worth the energy. But those moments of not saying anything accumulate over time. So this is actually what I want to talk to you about today. I want to let you know that that half-second decision is not neutral. It has a cost. And most men who are good at avoiding conflict have been accumulating that silently for years without a name for what it is it's costing them. I'm Alyssa Steins, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have 17 years of experience working with men navigating exactly this kind of situation. And today, I want to give you a name for it. I also want to show you exactly what it's costing you and give you one concrete move that interrupts it. Not a mindset shift and not a communication framework. Just one move that you can use tonight. So let's get into it. Now, I want to name it for you, and I want to start with what it actually looks like, because most men I work with don't recognize it in themselves at first. They think conflict avoidance looks like shutting down or walking out. But the truth of the matter is it doesn't usually. The version that does the most damage is a lot quieter than that. It's the edited answer. When she asks how you're doing and you say fine, because the real answer would take 20 minutes that you don't have, or it might go somewhere that you don't want to go tonight. It looks like the topic that you stop bringing up, not because it's been resolved, but because it never went anywhere good in the past. And at some point, the cost of raising it just felt higher than the cost of carrying it. It can also look like that thing that you swallowed last Tuesday and the week before. Those small moments where you felt something and decided in just that half a second that saying so just wasn't worth it. None of that is dramatic, and none of it really looks like a problem from the outside. You're not yelling, you're not checked out, you're actually working pretty hard to keep things smooth. But this is what I want you to hear. It's not a character flaw, this is a learned skill. And at some point earlier in your life, keeping things smooth was the right move. It protected something. It kept things stable when stability mattered. And it worked, which is exactly why it became automatic. Now, I want you to know that the problem is not that you learned it. The problem is that it's running on autopilot now, in a context where it costs more than it protects. That conflict avoidance is not the absence of conflict. It's deferred conflict, and it accumulates interest. Every time you let something go, it doesn't disappear. It winds up going somewhere. And we're going to talk about where it goes next. Now, there are 3 costs that I see consistently, and I want to name them specifically because generic versions of this conversation tend not to stick. The first one is what I call the silent ledger. Every avoided moment, it doesn't disappear. Like I said, it gets logged. And over time, without meaning to, you wind up keeping a running account of things that didn't go the way you needed them to, or things that you needed that you didn't ask for, the things that you swallowed because asking felt like more than you had in you at the moment. This is nothing that you're doing consciously, but it is something that's happening. And the ledger is not something that's neutral. It's slowly building up a version of the relationship in your head that's different from the one that she thinks you're both having. She thinks things are mostly fine. You're actually carrying a list that she doesn't even know exists. Sometimes it's just a long list of the things that you stopped expecting and started resenting. The second cost that I'm going to get to is that she stops bringing things to you. Now, here's the part that surprises most men. You think you're being smooth with the avoidance. You think she doesn't notice. Well, guess what? She does. Not necessarily consciously, but she is reading the signal. And the signal she's getting is that bringing things to you has a cost. That reaching for you sometimes means hitting a closed door. And so slowly, she starts to self-edit. She brings things to you less. She winds up handling more on her own. And the house gets quieter. You might feel relieved by this at first because there's less coming at you. You've got more space. But at some point, you realize that she stopped including you. She's stopped asking for your input, or she stopped telling you things. And you can't point to when exactly that happened because it didn't happen all at once. It happened one avoided moment at a time. The third cost is the one that tends to land the hardest. You lose the thread of your own interior life. Avoiding conflict long enough does not just mean avoiding her. It means avoiding your own reactions, your own needs. You get so practiced at suppressing the signal before it even becomes a problem that eventually you stop getting the signal clearly at all. Men who've been running this pattern for a long time often tell me that they don't know exactly what they think or feel about things anymore. And it's not because nothing is happening inside of them. It's because the habit of suppression runs deep enough that the access to it gets harder. Now, that's a significant loss, not just for the marriage, but for you too. So if any of that landed, you might be thinking, okay, I just need to start bringing things up, stop swallowing, have the conversations. And honestly, you've probably tried that. At some point, you decided to say the thing, to bring it up, to have the conversation, and it went badly. She might have escalated, or maybe you escalated, or it ended up in the same loop that it always ends in, the one where neither one of you gets what you came for, and you both feel worse than before you started. And the lesson you wind up taking from that is that speaking up makes it worse. So you stopped again. Now, here's what I want to offer you instead. The problem was not that you spoke. The problem was the pattern running underneath the conversation. Without interrupting the pattern, more communication is just more fuel for the same fire. You can have better intentions and still end up in the same place if the automatic moves are still running. Awareness of the cost is not the fix. Understanding why you avoid is not the fix. Now, those things matter, but they don't change the moment. What changes the moment is a specific, repeatable move at the exact point where the pattern kicks in. That's what I want to give you now. This pattern is interruptible, but only at one moment, not before it, because it's not started yet. And not after it, because you're already in the loop. It's right at the flashpoint, that half-second decision. That's where you have access. And the move is smaller than you think. The move is not having the hard conversation. That's too big. It skips the pattern entirely and puts you right back in the fire with no tool in your hand. The move is this. Before you let it go, before you take that automatic exit, you name what you're doing. You do it for yourself first. You notice the pull to drop it. You register it, and that alone interrupts the automatic nature of that pattern because the pattern runs and thrives on being invisible. The moment you see it, it loses some of its grip. Then, if you have a few seconds, you say it out loud. Say something like this. I just noticed that I was about to drop this. I don't want to drop it, but give me a minute. That's it. You're not resolving anything. You're not starting a fight. You're not launching into the hard conversation cold. You're catching the automatic exit before you take it and saying so. You're giving yourself time to think about how you want to respond, what it is you want to communicate, and then coming back rather than launching in cold. That one sentence keeps the thread alive without requiring you to immediately know what comes next. You don't have to have the answer. You don't have to be ready. You just have to not disappear. Now, why does this work? Again, it's because the pattern runs on invisibility. It's automatic precisely because you can't see it happening. The moment you name it out loud, even clumsily, even imperfectly, you break its invisibility. And a pattern you can see is a pattern you can work with. I'm going to invite you to try it once. That next time you feel that half-second pull, use it. Name the exit before you take it. Most men feel something shift the first time they do it. It's not a dramatic shift, it's a small one, but it's also a real one. And you need to feel it before any of the rest of this would be worth believing. Now, as I said, you've been paying a cost you did not have a name for. That silent ledger that was building up. Her slowly stopping reaching. You losing access to your own reactions. None of it was dramatic, but all of it is very real. Now, you have a name for it, and you have one move. That's not nothing, and that's actually where this starts. The move I gave you today is one. One moment, one pattern, one interruption. It's worth using, and it will show you something the first time you do. It's also the beginning of a map, not the whole thing, because the pattern runs in more than one moment. And naming the exit is one move in a longer sequence of moves than most men in this situation need. I'll be back next week to tell you more about it. But until then, try the move once. That's all.